A lot to get to today. I have found the reaction to the Derrick Rose trade to the New York Knicks to be a curious one. We'll get to that in a little bit. Ben Afflack went on a rant on Bill Simmons' new HBO show that was hostile, curse-filled, and didn't appear to be sober. I don't know how reckless that is to suggest, but I think a lot of people were looking at it and wondering, is Ben Affleck sober here? We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to the most unusual red card in the history of soccer in a second as well. But we've got a lot of stuff going on here behind the scenes as we try to fight for rights fees. As we try to fight, let me take you some. It's not rights fees, but let me explain to you something that's happening around here that is beginning to bother me, and I don't know how to rectify it. Back when we were just a local show, we just did what the internet does, which is you go and grab the Ben Affleck sound from that show. It's 3 minutes of him cursing about Deflategate. You grab it, you put it on the air, and that's it. And right now, you can go on the internet if you missed this sound, and that's really hard to do. Congratulations to Bill Simmons on that, to have something go viral in your first effort at a show. You can go anywhere on the internet and find it. We can't play it here because you've got to ask for permission, and apparently we've been denied permission. Now, there was another thing that I asked for here that is even better and funnier sound. Did you see what happened in the OJ documentary with Roy Firestone?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I thought that was a little bit unfair to Roy Firestone, but I was putting myself in the position of Roy Firestone. Those are difficult interviews to do with someone who's been accused of something. And Roy Firestone, I guess, did it to himself because he was very gentle with O.J. Simpson while asking him about domestic abuse and sort of making it sound like O.J. Simpson was the victim. We have the sound of that. It was off-putting. It was Roy Firestone has had a very successful career interviewing people.
But it's a difficult spot because in the court of law, he was found innocent. You get the interview. It's like, how do you navigate through that?
It's a very difficult thing to ask somebody about on television, but Roy Firestone did it too gently, even at the time too gently, and in retrospect, unbelievably too gently.
But I'm asking you as a journalist, how do you handle that?
It's hard.
You have to put your personal stuff aside,
it's
right?
Not even that. It's you're dealing with someone in front. You're right in front of them. It's it's difficult subject matter to ask about. You're trying to get them to open up. Roy Firestone is very good at getting people to open up. You can't start putting them on the defensive immediately, asking questions that are super hardball just to make yourself look good with the audience, because you're going to lose the person you're interviewing.
Sure.
They're going to go into the armored shell. But I mean, oddly enough, very few people look worse in this film than Roy Firestone. That's the part that I felt was kind of unfair, although Ezra Edelman played it down the middle with how he directed this movie. Just unfair because I was looking at his entire body of work and saying, oh, man, that snapshot is a brutal one, with the clarity of retrospect that it's just a punch in the face to Roy Firestone. But go ahead and play that sound.
You know, my wife and I have been together for 12 years. And it really, when I look at it, really wasn't that big of a fight. It's just that because of it being New Year's Eve,
right?
Because it's 3 o'clock in the morning, just finished a big party, it got a little loud.
But here's my point. The point I'm making, Juice, is that it got to such a point that you were portrayed in the press for a while. They're like a wife beater.
Well, yeah, and that bothered me. Obviously, it bothered my whole family. I mean, the day after this was over, we looked at each other and said, we had a fight. We were both guilty. No one was hurt. It was no big deal, and we got on with our life.
He's overly chummy. He doesn't press on anything. It's not a good look, and it doesn't end up being a good interview. But I'm looking at it through the prism of the interviewer, and I could see how that happens as you're trying to open someone up for a conversation about a difficult subject. Regardless, that's not the point I wanted to make. I wanted sound of what Roy Firestone has become since then. He is a song and dance man. He is a comedian. There is great sound all over the internet of him being a song and dance man. I'm not allowed to play any of it.
Really?
None of it.
Well, is anyone given a reason? We just can't get clearance on it?
We can't get clearance. It's one of my frustrations.
Wow.
I can just go to the internet. Just if you want to see it, go to the internet. But I can't play it for you.
To be fair, they are still looking into it, trying to find a way. But there are several reasons as to why this one might be a difficult one.
But my larger point is I don't understand the differences. Explain to me the differences between things being wildly accessible. We're behaving like this is porn. You could get porn wherever you want on the internet, but you can't put it around anything that's FCC-based. And we're behaving like the sound, like the Roy Firestone sound is porn. You could get it anywhere you want on the internet. You can get this Ben Afflack sound anywhere you want, except right here on a radio station that's talking about it.
I'm with you, but it's their content, and there are legal things you have to climb through in order to get clearance on their content.
I know.
Would you be happy if someone just started playing all our stuff without any
of
clearance?
Course. Go ahead, play all of it.
I think I would be as well, but most people aren't like us.
Play
I don't think.
all of it.
They're protective of their content.
Get the word out on how bad we are. Play all of it anywhere you want. Yes.
Fortunately, though, I wish it were Dan's call, but it goes through ESPN, and ESPN may not want.
Yeah, suits. Again with these suits holding us down. Shackles. Look at this here by text. Speaking of the suits, John Calipari's all over ESPN today, and woo, that doesn't make me feel good, even as he's coming on our television show later.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we've made so much fun of them about paying players. Like, my father's apologized probably 10 times.
I'm surprised he's coming on that show, man.
I'm really surprised.
Well,
does he know that you're hosting the show?
I don't know.
Because I've made several requests for John Calipari for this show.
Well, he's doing the car wash, and a texter points something out here, and this is unseemly. It is. And this is ESPN being in on the deal. And there's no getting around this. I can moralize and gasbag all I want, but this is ESPN in on the deal. Texter writes in, Dan, any thoughts on what ESPN is doing today with Calipari? It comes off like a gross recruiting tool for Kentucky, calling moms of former players, letting him schmooze live on the air. Does ESPN have any obligation to keep clear of this type of thing? Cal obviously eats it up, as he should. I'm watching all of this, and I'm like, we've just given him the entire platform. That's not right. It's simply not right to give him the entire platform to be out here recruiting by himself. It's not the coaches coming through the car wash. It's one super famous coach who already has a recruiting advantage using all of our platforms to go into full salesman mode. ESPN is doing something wrong today as part of this transaction, and I'm right in on it. Like, it's hard for me to even I feel like I should make the moral stand and just cancel our interview on television with Calipari.
Well, you can't say what you just said and then go interview Calipari later. I think you need to cancel
this
one.
I probably need to cancel it. And it feels like, but that one feels a little bit like grandstanding too. Like, it's hard.
It really comes off.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Why don't you have the conversation with him about what you're feeling?
This is gross. Like, what's happening with Calipari today at ESPN is gross. Like, this is amateurism. It's all the stuff I'm complaining about. It's, Jim Harbaugh with a $10,000 a day jet. It's Butch Jones driving around in a $220,000 car. And Calipari's got the stage to himself today. Usually we bring all the coaches in, but this is sort of like, how in politics you got fair and balanced and equal time. This isn't equal time. He's just wandering around the premises on every platform, selling himself and selling his program.
I think on the other side of that, though, fans would tell you he's doing everything he can for his kids. If you play for that coach, what you want him to do that for
I don't
you.
blame him.
Right.
I blame us. Like, I'm going to get in trouble for this. Now I'm in too deep. At Lebatard Show on Twitter, Guillermo, put this up on Twitter, please. Does it feel wrong? How does it feel to have John Calipari have all the ESPN platforms today to recruit and bring on his players and talk about how great he is, right or wrong?
I honestly don't mind it, but I don't have morals and I don't care about this stuff. And I'm not certain if they invited any other coaches to come and do this.
No, they wouldn't.
No, but here's the exchange.
You would only invite the super famous one who could help ratings. You would only fight.
Would Coach K be able to do that?
Yeah, Coach K would. And it would feel just as wrong if he was doing it.
But I'm okay with that exchange. Like, come up here, promote yourself, promote your kids, run amok on our network. And in exchange for that, he got every single guest you would want on Mike and Mike this morning. Like, he co-hosted with Greeny for 2 hours. It was Anthony Davis. It was Marcus Camby. It was John Wall, I believe.
I know, but it becomes an unfair recruiting advantage that ESPN is subsidizing in amateurism.
Yeah, but they're getting great guests.
I mean, yeah. And Calipari's a great guest.
Yes, he is.
And Kentucky's a big draw. It's all cyclical.
I know, but I'm not comfortable with how much we're participating in this. I'm always decrying the way people profit off the backs of labor, Calipari included, and it's never quite this overt, this in your face, that we're in on the transaction.
But if we don't, someone else will, right? It's kind of like the LeBron special. If we didn't air it, someone was going to air it.
That's the difficulty sometime in taking moral stands. But now I've put myself in the position here, though, where it sounds like gasbaggy grandstanding. Not to mention, it's not just my choice. There are other people on the television show. Like, this is not my television show. This is Eric Rideholm's television show. This is Bomani Jones's television show.
I mean, it's Poppy's show.
And it's Poppy's television show, but he doesn't care. He doesn't know who any of these people are anyway.
Right.
I'm cool with it because I know what this all is. Like, I think your whole problem with it is, like, it's the illusion of amateurism and tried and true. And, like, I know what this is,
I know,
man.
but
Bring them out.
I know, but it's never this overt. When is it ever this overt? I'm always lamenting. I don't have a defense against the hypocrisy of my lamenting everyone profiting off of unpaid labor if I'm going to be complicit and an enabler in today's transaction of John Calipari is now on First Take. He was on Mike and Mike, and all he's doing is sales. It's all he's doing today, and we've given him all our platforms in exchange for whatever ratings his fame brings. And this just, none of it feels like amateurism.
Well, it's not just sales, though. He's providing content. He's providing entertainment. He's a good guest.
No, all
of
it is all of it is sales for him and his program.
Well, everything he does is sales, of course.
Okay, but why did you just...
But there's other things other than that. Like I don't think the viewer's sitting there going, wow, he's just walking around selling stuff. Like, I think they're interested in what he has to say.
No, but that is what he's doing. It is what he is selling. This. Who else gets to do this? Who else in college sports gets to do this? It does not feel right to me.
I imagine. Does Saban ever get to do it?
Harbaugh will be the guy.
No, they all come together. That I'm not even comfortable with that portion of it, by the way.
Like when the SEC coaches come through?
The most miserable time in my existence doing work at this network is when all these coaches come through and just profit. But at least when all of them come through, it's all of them.
Right.
At least everyone is getting access to Les Miles as much as Nick Saban, as much as Butch Jones. And that just seems like an elaborate rationalization for bad behavior too. But it's the most unpleasant time I have at my job when all of these coaches come in and don't say anything, and they're just running through the cycle. They're running through the car wash to sell, to make more money for themselves off of the backs of unpaid labor.
You mean you have nothing to ask Mark Helfrich?
Antonio Davis going to join us at 11 o'clock Eastern. Carl Douglas, the O.J. Simpson attorney. I got to press him some more on, like, he's making this victory lap run on something else that's unseemly, by the way. Like, I got to press him on, hey, your fame is coming from helping a murderer. Like, I got to press him on some of this stuff because he was great in that O.J. Simpson documentary, and he's really enjoying making the rounds now as one of the guys who helped free O.J. Simpson. And the roots of that transaction are a little bit unpleasant as well. Man, I am in a foul mood this morning.
You really are.
Ticking time bomb.
I got to get to this amazing red card story, okay? It is the most surprising red card in the history of soccer. We'll get to it next.